Hi, my name is Benjamin, and I'm a messenger of the gospel. So I wanted to share about our lunch outreach today, and me and my partner went out and felt like we should go to a specific restaurant. And as we were there, we really had a hard time feeling like we were supposed to connect with anybody there, and there was one person, the waitress, that we tried to connect with, and she just like shut us down immediately, like didn't want to have any conversation, and it was actually quite strange for a waitress, being that normally they're friendly, thinking about tips and things like that, but she wouldn't even give us the time of day at all. So afterwards, we just felt like we were supposed to go and start prayer walking in that neighborhood and see what God would bring about, and so. We just went out and began to walk around the neighborhood and noticed a couple interesting things. One of them was just kind of different. I found a broken reflector laying on the sidewalk, and it was just sprung up in my heart, this idea of reflecting the light of Christ. And so we took that reflector and brought it up on this hill and just prayed over the community in the neighborhood. And then on the way back to the vehicle, there was a gentleman who was standing there with his son on the corner asking for change, and neither of us had any currency or change on us whatsoever. So I said, I'm really sorry. I normally would give it to you if I had it, but could we pray for you for anything? And he immediately told me no. There's nothing that he needed. But my partner, who should really be in here, but I'm going to try to share his story. Noticed that he was wearing a lot of rings, and one of his rings had a Buddha on it. And he said, "Wow, I see you got a lot of jewelry and stuff there." He goes, "Is that the Buddha?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "I've never seen anybody with a Buddha ring before." He goes, "What does that mean to you?" And he goes, "Well, I guess it gives me peace." And he says, "Oh, so you find peace in Buddha?" And he said, "Well, I find peace within myself." And he goes, "Really?" He goes, "Me and Benjamin were just talking and about how our lives, we were never able to find peace in ourselves and stuff like that." And he said, so he just began to share with them. He said, Buddha died, Muhammad died, and they're gone. He goes, "But there's only one person that I know of that's called the Prince of Peace. Have you ever heard of him?" And he said, "Yeah, I know who that is." He goes, "Who's that?" He said, "That's Jesus." He said, "That's right. He's the Prince of Peace." And he just began to share with the gentleman about how, about a little bit about our stories and about how we had tried to find peace for a long time, but we never really could. When we searched for it within ourselves, we ended up empty and not finding peace. And he said, asked him if he had experienced that, and he said that he had, but he was trying hard. So he basically started talking about trying real hard to get peace in his life, and so apparently he ended up admitting to us that the Buddha ring wasn't really working to provide him the peace that he thought it was. And so he said, so then again, my partner, who was really, I'm telling more like his story of his witnessing here, because I just began to intercede for him. And I was just like, "Lord, give him the words," and praying silently to myself. And so he said, he asked the gentleman his name, and he addressed him by name, and he said, Are you desiring to find peace from the source, the Prince of Peace?" And he said, "Yes, I am. I'm looking for that. That's who I want, the Prince of Peace." And he was kind of, there was sort of a sense that he wanted to get out of there with his son. He was a little uncomfortable in the situation. And so at that time, I guess both of us, we confirmed with each other afterwards that we felt like this was more of a seed planting expedition, if you will. But we left him with a word, a question, really. We asked him, "So where are you going to look for peace?" And he said, "I'm going to look to the Prince of Peace." And then we just embraced him and then left. And then it was kind of neat, too, that as we took off, I realized in my vehicle I had some change in my ashtray, area in my car. And so we said, "Well, why don't we go and let's go give this to him real quick," because what he had told us was he needed change to get on the bus, him and his son, and he seemed pretty sincere about that. So he actually was already about a block away, walking away with his son, and we tracked him down, and I basically told him that, as I realized I had some change, I wanted him to know that we cared about him. And I said, maybe you've heard this before, because he had told us he grew up in a Christian home and went to church when he was young. That was part of the story I missed earlier. But anyway, as we gave him the change, I said, maybe you've heard this before, but I think it's important to let people know that it's more important that you know that we care rather than to care just about what we know. We're not just trying to tell you about Jesus, but we want you to know that Jesus truly cares for you. And he was really grateful for that. And so we gave him some change, and hopefully he was able to get on the bus with his son. And just blessed him in the name of the Lord, and then we took off from there. So that was our lunch outreach.